Hi everyone, Flaming Footy here, and welcome back to another video on the channel. And today, guys, we are going to be continuing our round previews. Today, we're going to be previewing round number 4. So, it's a big round of footy coming up, really. Round number 3 was, round number 4 is, round number 5 will be as well. This is where we get our kind of looks at where teams are at this kind of stage. And then from there, it makes tipping, it makes predictions, and it makes thoughts a lot easier after these first 5 rounds, as every team's kind of had a taste of a easy opponent, a hard opponent, and normally an easy opponent at home and a hard opponent at home, and then a hard opponent away from home and an easy opponent away from home after 4 or 5 rounds of footy, and sometimes it can even stretch out to round number 6. But upsets are everywhere. Again, you pretty much never, unless you're in bye rounds, you pretty much never get an upset. You always get an upset in a round unless if you're in a bye round. But anyways, let's go ahead and hop right into things. And first of all, we start off with Port Adelaide and Melbourne on the Thursday night. Now, I don't see this one being that interesting either. I just feel like Melbourne are way too good of a team. Now, Melbourne haven't played their best footy. I'm pretty sure we've all been quite aware of that so far. But I think the power, they're just a mess of a team without Aaliyah, Dixon, Fantasia helpful as well. They might get Gray back, and Gray is a pretty good player, but without Aaliyah, because Aaliyah just floats around, takes intercept marks wherever, and it stops you from scoring. But without Aaliyah, Melbourne could easily break open 100 points as well. So yeah, my tip is Melbourne pretty convincingly as well. I think I said them by about 31 points. Geelong versus Brisbane at GMHBA on the Friday night. Now, this one is a 50-50. There has been people that said the Cats, and there has been people that have gone brave and said the Lions. Now, I have gone safe tip. I have said Cats. Don't worry, there is an upset in here. I have tipped an upset. So if you're looking for the upset, just wait and watch and find out, because there is an upset. But yeah, Geelong, Brisbane, GMHBA. Just because it's GMHBA, I feel like the Cats will win. They are such a dominant team down there. They make it their own now. Brisbane were robbed at this ground last year, so maybe there's no robbery this year. But again, just feel like the Cats are too strong. They were very good last week, and if they play that for the whole 4 quarters, they could be a really explosive team. And Brisbane have had a good start to the year, but again, I feel like the Cats will be better at GMHBA at home. Now, moving on to Sydney versus North Melbourne. Now, this game has been moved to 2:40 or 2:10 my time. And it's Sydney versus North Melbourne at the SCG. Now, North Melbourne, they're coming off of 108 points smashing over Brisbane. Brisbane smashed them by 108 points. Sydney, they are coming off of a 11-point loss to the Western Bulldogs. So both teams are coming off of games that, well, I mean, not North Melbourne, but Sydney are coming off a game they probably should have won. And North Melbourne, they are coming off an absolute disaster, which when you come off an absolute disaster like that, it is also quite easy to repeat that. So Sydney could really be in for a big win. I think I said them by about 50 points, and I'm happy to hold that margin right now. North Melbourne, I just don't think they're a chance in this game. When they come against teams that are their rank, like West Coast or Adelaide, it might be a little bit more of a better game, but when you've got teams like the better teams like Sydney, especially at their home ground, this is 2 weeks on the road for North Melbourne, and I feel like they're going to struggle. So Sydney, they could definitely win this one by a long way, and that's who I'm saying. Collingwood West Coast now at Marvel Stadium. Now, I have only kept my margin to around 30 points in favour of Collingwood right now, but that's because it's at Marvel, not at the MCG, and we do know that Collingwood are better at the MCG now. Last week, massive choke against Geelong and West Coast. Their best footy has not been displayed at all this year. They actually need to get their season off to a start. They will start their season eventually, just where and when, and it'll probably be at home, even though their displays this year have been dismal. I feel like Collingwood will have this one in the bag by a long way, at least a 30-point win for the Pies, otherwise it'd probably be considered as underdone. But I feel like they got a big win, and Collingwood, they've actually been looking like a pretty good team this year, so I'm happy to say Collingwood by about 30 to 40 points, and West Coast, they are going to, yes, they may have big inclusions, which we all knew they were going to have some big inclusions, so maybe another reason to hold the margin to 31, but again, I just feel like West Coast is not playing their best footy, Collingwood just way too strong. Now, Richmond versus Bulldogs at the MCG. Now, this is an interesting game. I have tipped the Bulldogs to win this one pretty comfortably as well, I think by about 23 points. Now, Richmond, we do know how strong they are at the MCG. They showed it against the Giants a few weeks prior, but I just feel like the Bulldogs, they are just a better team. They're expected to, well, definitely make top 8. Not sure about top 4, but definitely top 8 this year. Richmond, they have been a contender for the top 8, but they haven't really been playing like one at all this year. I feel like the Dogs will have this one even pretty convincingly, even though it's at the MCG on the Saturday night. And again, the Dogs are just packed full of stars. And even though the Tigers do have stars, and they may get some stars back for this game, I still feel like the Bulldogs will be too strong, especially after their good win last week against the Swans. And it wasn't, they could have won by more against the Swans as well, of how inaccurate they are. So, just another reason. Freo versus GWS, Optus Stadium, the Saturday night game, as well as Richmond Western Bulldogs. Both start 6:55. Freo, GWS, always a close encounter here, I reckon. Same with Freo and Sydney. The Freo versus Sydney teams get on pretty interestingly. Now, I feel like this one is a Fremantle win, just considering it is at Optus Stadium and how strong they can be there, how good they were in the Derby. And the Giants, they haven't started their season off the best way. And even last week against the Suns, it was a pretty boring game. But it wasn't the most convincing win. They kicked 5 goals in the first quarter and they kicked about 2 for the rest. So that's not going to win you a game of AFL footy, especially if you're up against a good team like Freo. Probably not going to be a high-scoring game. You'll either score 80s apiece or it'll be in the 50s or 60s apiece, high or low. But Freo, they are just way too good, I reckon. I feel like they're a top 8 contender this year. I feel like the Giants are also top 8 contender. This is going to be a really important battle, but I still feel like Freo will win. Now they're on to Essendon versus Adelaide on Sunday at Marvel Stadium. Look, this one could go either way as well. I do feel like Essendon are the better team. But again, the Crows, they could really come out, they could really play well, and they could really win this one. I am pretty convinced, though, that the Bombers will get the job done, though. I feel like they are just a better team at home. The Crows probably won't play well at Marvel. We saw how well they went last year against this same team. They scored 21 points. Essendon scored 80-something. So, Essendon were better last year. But again, I still feel like Essendon at home will just be a little bit too hard to beat. They did really compete against Brisbane. They competed against Melbourne. So I feel like they'll give it their best shot against the Crows and they'll get the job done by under 10 points. And the Crows, they were impressive last week off the showdown win. But again, Port are not going through their best stage, and it's away from home. If it was at home, I'd tip the Crows, but just because it's away, I feel like every team does have a minor problem away from home, and I feel like the Crows have a minor problem. Now, Hawthorn St Kilda, this is probably one of the hardest games to tip this round. I feel like that one, Freo GWS are up there as well, and probably Brisbane Geelong. But again, this one is the hardest game for my eyes to tip. Do you go the upset? Do you tip the Hawks? Do you go the safer tip, the Saints? Do you go the team that's informing the Hawks? What do you do? And I have gone the upset. I've got a bold call, and I've said that the Hawks will win. Now, it is at the MCG. Now, please don't mistake this. It's at the MCG. The Saints play well at Marvel, and they are definitely very different grounds. So, I feel like Hawthorn have this one by, I think I said 11 points. I feel like they just have it in them. The way they've been playing so far this year has been impressive. They definitely didn't light it up against North Melbourne in round 1. Round 2, they smashed the power, sending a real statement. And round 3, they tried their heart out against Carlton and lost by 1 point. So I feel like that was impressive about Hawthorn, and that is why I am tipping them to win. I don't think I didn't tip them at all this year. So this is my first round tipping them, and I feel like they will get the job done. St Kilda, though, they had a brilliant comeback against the Tigers last week. But again, I just feel like the Hawks will just be too strong in this game, especially considering it's at the MCG. Now, to the final game of the round, it is Gold Coast versus Carlton at Metricon Stadium. Now, Gold Coast have played pretty well there this year. They defeated the Power in the practice game, they defeated Geelong in the practice game, and they got close to Melbourne in round number 2. Carlton, on the other hand, they actually don't play their best footy at Metricon, but they do still get the job done. Now, I feel like Carlton this time around will be a much different team. I feel like they'll be better. It all starts in the midfield for Carlton. They get it out. You win the hit down. You win the hit out. Get it down to Cripps, handballs to Walsh, handballs to Chera, handballs to Hewitt, and then they can have a ping for 50 out, and it just goes like that. Or get it deep inside forward 50. That is how it works for Carlton. I feel like that passage of footy is so good. But yeah, I feel like that passage of footy is so good by the Blues, and if you're getting it in, and then you can force teams to defend. So I feel like this game will go in favour of Carlton. I feel like they'll win this one by, I think I said 22. It's not the biggest of margins. I feel like Gold Coast will actually give it a real good crack up at Metricon, but again, I just feel like Carlton are way too strong. So, that is the round. That is round number 4. We'll have a look at what round number 3 gave us. So, the Bulldogs defeated the Swans. The Demons got over the Bombers. The Power lost to the Crows after the siren. The Giants took care of the Suns. Geelong made Collingwood choke. Brisbane easily took care of the Roos. Carlton got over a late scare by the Hawks. St Kilda came from the clouds to defeat the Tigers. And Freo just demolished West Coast. And have a look at what round number 5 has in store for us. This is the Easter weekend of footy. So let's see what round number 5 has for us. Brisbane versus Collingwood at the Gabba. North Melbourne versus Western Bulldogs. West Coast versus Sydney. St Kilda versus Gold Coast. Adelaide versus Richmond. Melbourne versus GWS. Carlton versus Port Adelaide. Essendon versus Fremantle. And Hawthorn versus Geelong. Big rounds of footy, 4 and 5. Keep your eyes out for these rounds, as these 2 rounds are very big. They will make or break the ladder. Is there going to be a team that goes 5-0? Who's going to go 4-0? Who's going to go 0-4 if there's any team? Will a team go 0-5? These next 2 rounds are crucial. So let's wait and find out. Thank you guys all so much for watching. You guys can let me know what your round 4 tips are in the comments section. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so then you guys will never miss another video on the channel. Thank you guys all so much for watching. So bye everyone. Flaming Footy out.